Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman Lois Season 3. So we are finally back with the latest season of Superman Lois, which kicked off in the past week with quite the cracking episode, if you want to put it, that sets up this season in a very well done manner with some mysteries, some worries mixed there, and just an overall dark undertone that you would expect to carry on for maybe the rest of the season, but at least most of the season, or more specifically, at least the opening portion of this season. But the episode did set up a couple of storylines, including stuff that involves or includes Bruno Mannheim in multiple ways, as well as Lex Luthor, potentially, and even some worries for Lois going forward. So in this video, we are going to go over a bunch of new information and just some overall news that has come out for future episodes and just the near future for the actual show. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on this, because there is a couple of different things here that I'm sure people have differing opinions on potentially, or at least maybe some theories and predictions. So feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, and you're looking forward to the rest of this season of Superman Lois, want to drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So the first thing to go over is actually something that I think it dropped on the day of the season 3 premiere. I think it was on the day. I'm 99% sure it was at the very least. And that was the first look, the actual legitimate first look at Michael Cudlitz as Lex Luthor for season 3 of Superman Lois. Now, I think this was dropped, now that I think about it, on the day of the premiere to sort of advertise the show last minute. Now, obviously there was some differing opinions on how he looks. I think there were a lot of criticism about him having a beard, and I think it's just because, I think if Titans didn't have Lex Luthor in, that one episode randomly, I don't think people would care. Of course, we had John Cryer with the beard, but people didn't mind that. I think maybe just, we haven't had a Lex Luthor without a beard in live action, I guess, for a while. So people just have been annoyed at the beard thing, which I think is a minor thing to get annoyed about. I think it's nitpicking pretty much. But I think he looks badass, to be completely honest. So you wouldn't want to run into him. And the only downside of them releasing this now is that we're probably not going to get him for a while in the show. I don't think we're going to see him on screen over the next month or so, though we may be wrong. And that's just because the initial casting came when they were about halfway through filming this season. But there is something that we're going to go over next, which might suggest what episode Lex Luthor is first appearing in. So we'll get into that soon. But you can see that it looks like he's had his head freshly shaven, because you can see little specks of hair, little clippings of hair on his shoulders and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're just going to meet him how Michael Cudlitz was looking maybe, and then they just shave his head. But then again, he might not even keep the beard. I think he will. I think he will rock this beard at least for an episode, if not the entire thing. But that's a wait and see. But it does look like he's looking like bald Abraham, pretty much. I know it's the same actor, obviously, but just with the beard and everything. So yeah, but maybe that's what people wanted. But I think he looks pretty menacing, and we're led to believe this is going to be a more darker take on Lex Luthor than at least what we've seen in live action previously. So I'm excited to see what he does, how it affects, I guess, specifically Superman and Lois, but just the show as a whole, maybe some characters on the side as that, and just how he folds into the Bruno Mannheim story as well, potentially. We don't know if that's going to happen, but by what episode 1 was saying, it sounds like it probably will, but we'll have to wait and see. But the next thing to go over is some new episode titles for Superman Lois Season 3, which includes, I think we had 4 up to episode 4, but 5 up to 8 we didn't have, which we're going to go over. And as I said, I think one of these episodes might suggest what episode Lex Luthor, is making his first appearance in. But as we can see, we have episodes 3 through to 8 here now. I'm pretty sure we already knew 3 and 4's episode titles. So yeah, we have In Cold Blood Minus A for episode 3 and Too Close to Home for episode 4. But then we have episode 5, which is called Head On. You can make whatever assumptions you want with that. But that is an episode we'll get before a 1-week break. We'll have a week off. And then we get episode 6 called Of Sound Mind, which is airing on my birthday. Hopefully it's a good episode. Then episode 7, we have Forever and Always, which sounds like a bit of a relationship sort of thing, like Superman and Lois. So maybe some big stuff happens there. I don't know. And then we have episode 8, which is called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And I have a feeling this might be the episode that Lex Luthor shows up for the first time. He was cast around the filming of this episode. I think it might have been as they were wrapping up episode 7. So maybe it's an end of episode 7 reveal of Lex Luthor. But it wouldn't surprise me if episode 8 is the one where we get a full-on Lex Luthor reveal and he makes his presence known. So that's my prediction at the very least. So we're only, halfway through March right now. So we've got about pretty much 2 months, a month and 3/4 until that episode's going to air from this point. So it's a bit of a wait. But hopefully it's worth it because, yeah, this Lex Luthor looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. Now, of course, they could have filmed some stuff when he got cast and put it into earlier episodes. I'm not too sure if they'll do that. I think they might keep the build-up and mystery of Lex Luthor maybe spread throughout the season. Maybe there's an unknown thing that's, an unknown factor that's playing into certain things throughout the season. It's oh, who could this be? And then we find out maybe it's Lex Luthor. I'm not too sure, but they did name drop him, in episode 1. So it's not like they're just avoiding mentioning him. He was already mentioned by Dr. Irons in episode 1. So we'll wait and see how it goes about things. But that episode title just seems like an entry thing for Lex Luthor. But maybe I'm wrong. You might think it's a, episode 6 thing that he might show up in. I don't know. Let me know. Now, of course, as I said, the only break scheduled from what we can see here is for April 18th, so the episode after episode 5. But of course, there are 5 more episodes after episode 8 for this season, because we know there's 13 episodes. There is probably another break or 2 in there somewhere. So we're looking at a late June, maybe early July wrap up for this season. It just sort of depends on breaks that take place after what we can see here. But I think we're going to avoid any of those season 2 breaks, which were just ridiculous. We'd air 2 episodes, go away for 3 weeks. Air 1 episode, go away for 2 weeks. That was awful. That was ridiculous. So it looks like we're avoiding that. So that's a silver lining there. Thank the Lord for that one. But the next thing to go over is actually the synopsis for episode 4, which, as we can see from that thing before, was called Too Close to Home. And let's just read it out. Tensions mount. Lois interrupts an intense conversation between Clark and John Henry. Meanwhile, Kyle tries to run interference between Sarah and Lana. Lastly, Jonathan has a heated discussion with Candace's dad. So the first thing, Clark and John Henry's intense conversation. Now, I don't know specifically what this would be about, because it might be something that starts in episode 2 or focuses or happens in episode 3. Maybe it could be about maybe John folding into his doppelganger's life and family. We know in episode 2 this week that we're going to meet the son, of Dr. Irons. Of course, Dr. Irons is the doppelganger of John Henry's sister from his Earth, or at least the sister of his doppelganger from this Earth. But we don't know if on his Earth he had a nephew or anything like that. But of course, this would be technically Natalie's cousin, I guess, technically, depending on what happened on her Earth. That's a wait and see. So that might be where the intense conversation happens, but I don't know if Clark would be that annoyed about it. So maybe it's something about Natalie maybe pushing Jordan in his Superboy stuff, because we know in episode 2 that they're going to be doing a bit of a Scooby Gang thing and working together. Of course, Natalie has her steel suits. So maybe it's something about that. And maybe John Henry was sort of telling Natalie, yeah, you should go out and do this, help Jordan with all this stuff. Maybe that's where it all starts off. Let's wait and see. But it does also talk about Jonathan having a heated talk with Candace's dad. Now, I don't know if this is going to be that interesting of a thing in the episode, but I did see confusion with this. Candace is not the girlfriend from season 1. That was Tegan. So Tegan was the girlfriend from season 1, and then I guess between season 1 and 2, that was the relationship, the romantic interest for Jonathan back in season 1. That was Tegan. Then in season 2, we met Candace. So Tegan, of course, dropped that her father was imprisoned in Central City, and I think that's what people think that is. This is the father that was imprisoned in Central City that Jonathan's having this heated discussion with. No, different girlfriends, different people. So don't expect that, because I just know some people just think they recast the actress from season 1. But yeah, they're different actors. So don't expect any Central City name drops. Unless maybe the writers forgot and they think it's the same character. I guess we'll find out. But just don't expect it. But the last thing to talk about is something that I was looking up. So I wasn't too sure about the medical specifics of everything. So I went over some of the stuff that was mentioned in episode 1. And Lois's potential of having cancer or something along the lines that would push her down a certain path for this season. Now, if you have symptoms of pregnancy that don't result in pregnancy, it can be aligned with having cancer or a tumor. Now, Henry Miller, aka Adam Man, had a brain tumor that he survived through, due to the process that Bruno Mannheim was using on him. Now, will this be what Lois researches that has her run into Bruno? She knows that Henry Miller had a brain tumor, was meant to die in a few weeks. That's why he was released from prison earlier, but was still functioning months later. And as at the end of last episode, we saw him being brought back to life. So maybe he shows up again and is alive, and everyone's like, what the hell's going on here? Which makes Lois research it even more. So maybe she is looking for a cure and instead finds the problem that she sort of wants to find in the form of Bruno Mannheim, but just bigger than what she expected. Bruno has much more control, much more power, just more lethal stuff around him, and also tools that can make him build an army of sorts, like people like Henry Miller, or whoever it might be. So that could be where we go down. Now, the only real issue that it can arise here is that something like cancer and like this and like terminal sickness and stuff, or terminal illnesses, can be such a very like touchy subject. It can be very personal to people. I've had people who've watched who are watching Superman Lois, who watch my videos and stuff, have said, hey, like, I personally have had this, or I lost my family member, whether it's like a mother or a grandmother or grandfather, whatever it is, to something like this. So I think there's worry there about how it's handled. And I think that's something that has to be, you'd have to think it's been thought about. Like, I hope that maybe there's someone on the writing staff that's had a personal experience with this, so they know how to deal with it and touch upon it in a very respectful manner, rather than make it like, oh, like, you know, I want powers, so I'm going down this route. Like, this is, hopefully it's handled decently. That's my concern, and that's my hope going into it. And I think it should be handled well, but I can understand some like trepidation with people that may have gone through this experience, whether it's themselves or with a family member or whatever it might be. So I think it's going to be handled well. Superman and Lois isn't the type of show that would joke about it or just rush into it. So yeah, I know I don't really want to make any predictions because I just want to see how it plays out, but I think it should be decently done. So fingers crossed. But of course, the talk about X-Kryptonite and whether that plays into it is another question. The fact that Henry Miller got like actual powers from it makes you think that X-Kryptonite plays a part in it. That's obviously an untied up storyline from last season, which felt like it was intentionally left open to lead into this season. So I think that plays into it. Some people don't agree with me, which is fine because it's different theories and stuff. But that liquid was like yellow, which is like X-Kryptonite. So that's my prediction. X-Kryptonite plays into it. But yeah, that's a wait and see, obviously. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on all the stuff we went over in this video and any theories and predictions you have. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel and want to, keep watching, subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.